We've already kind of hand out for the budget.
That was in front of you.
Oh, it's in there. No. Yes, ma'am. We're ready? I will to order the town of Sylva's January 25th budget meeting.
I'm gonna start. There's a presentation here to start with. Got the slide. We'll be more informal. Got questions, stop us and ask whatever questions this is your opportunity to learn what you're gonna be facing as you get into budget, see what your staff's dealing with and the issues that are gonna be important to you. So this is your first budget session. You've got a copy of the current schedule. You approved it. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on that schedule. It's in your packet. This is your first meeting. You got a couple more budget meetings. You'll get the final budget presentation for the final budget will be submitted to you, I believe, May the 9th. You'll have a public hearing on May the 30th, and you have to adopt it by the end of June. And I think what is proposed is for you to adopt it June the 13th. If you need more discussions, you need more time, you can have more meetings, but you have to have it adopted prior to July 1st. Town of Sylva's assets, y'all know what they are. You're in a beautiful location. You got a downtown that towns would die for. You got a great staff. I mean, it's just a great place to live, work, and play, and I think y'all all know that. Now, as I mentioned, one of your greatest assets is your staff. I've worked in a lot of towns, and I'd say right now you're blessed. I have been where the staff is awful. Yeah, so you are very blessed. You've got great staff. They know what they're doing. If you listen to them, I think they'll lead you where you've got. Your buildings and facilities are in good shape. You don't have any major needs like if that's a town hall or police station or a fire station. You've got the assets. This is your current mission statement: to provide efficient, high quality services while fostering diversity, communication, partnerships by proactively planning for the future. I think that served you well. That doesn't mean you can't change it. You can adjust it, but I think that would be, a topic of discussion for a later date. But that's currently what it is right now, and I think it serves you well. Services. Now we'll go over services. Each of the department heads is going to give you a brief presentation on what their services are and what their goals and are. So we'll get into that a little later. Your current organizational chart is kind of small and it's hard to read, but the citizens are up top there. You got the board, and the board directs the manager. And the manager directs all the staff, and that's how all that's broken down. You do hire and fire the town attorney and the town manager. Everybody else under the town manager is directed by the manager, not the board. Emergency services chief, I think this is where you take over. Okay.
I think. Y'all pick up soon.
Yeah.
So, the mission statement of emergency services is town of Sylva will assist the public protection of life and property by minimizing the impact of crowd and medical emergencies. It will affect the community environment. I'm on that 17 slide. Just kidding. Just kidding. So core services, for the police department. Of course, there's a patrol division that's handling the work. What I say, that's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. They're out there actually doing the work in the field. As calls come in, get criminal investigation, obviously we have serious cases that come in and require a lot more time. That's who's doing those situations. Patrol folks need to go to the next call, and so they pass out. Something's gonna take a lot more time, pass it on to them. Community policing, obviously we're doing plenty of that. Crime prevention, same. Community problem solving, but sometimes I wish we could change our name, police department to problem solvers, because that's really what we do. Law enforcement is the tiny percentage, it's solving problems. Community care program, you guys know about that. We'll go into the round table at some point. It's part of something that's coming from community care. It's really helping organize. We have a monthly meeting with all the players, and it really has helped organize that. So I won't go too far into that. And the volunteers for public service VIPs program. You're here for the VIPs that are involved. Those are volunteers to help us fill in gaps that we don't get any jobs that police officers could be doing, but there's a lot of things that we do where we don't need a police officer to go. Anybody can stand there, and go like this. So we're gonna cover our needs. I'm gonna start at the bottom. We have a fleet schedule here, and our town manager is very serious about keeping to it. We made some changes last year. This year, we're up for 2 patrol vehicles. They are really expensive, but it's just what it is. We're looking at Explorers. That's the best maintenance option we have, and they're also the cheapest police cars. Of vehicles that make sense in Sylva, that's the cheapest option. They run about 43,000, and then putting all the police stuff in it and all the modifications that have to be made, it's about 60,000. So, and then moving on back up to the top now, it's time for a firearms upgrade. So we have the firearms that we carry now were bought under Chief Davis. It's time for new ones, and not just because of the wear and tear on the firearms, but there's also a lot of new technology that's out there that makes our officers honestly safer, more accurate, that kind of thing. We all hope and pray that we never have to use our firearms, but if we do, you want that bullet to go where it's supposed to go. You don't want it just going wherever. And so there's new sights out there. There's new lighting technology, that kind of stuff. To be honest with you, the modifications, the upgrade that we're looking to make, we're the last person, and probably even in the surrounding counties, the last agency that hasn't already done it. So we're kind of behind the times in that, but it's time to do it. So this the total project retail would be about 13,000, but we've been able to still negotiate the deal. It's not done yet. We're down to about 6,500, and it may even be cheaper than that whenever we get done. So in the grand scheme of the budget and for the results that we get back from that, to me, that's an investment. That's not a lot of money for it to save us. And then last, our PD server at the police department is she's not doing good. That it's obsolete, and Microsoft they no longer support the software that's on it. Our IT company that we use says there are no repairs that can be done. It's got to be replaced. And we're waiting on the final numbers, but I thought 6,000 in talking with other staff. They said probably put 8 on the PowerPoint. We could toss that up to that much. Man is not. And so we could have, but this is one of those things where we don't really have a choice. You have to have a server, and ours is obsolete now. Any questions about those?
Chief, is this the same server where you store your video?
To my understanding, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So Which we didn't have to do it, but it just is what it is. That server, I believe, was new when the police department was done, so you talked to 2012, I think. Long, so it's, we've got a lot of life out of it, but it's kind of cost of doing business, I think. So that's our needs. Those are the things that we are looking to put on our budget. Our wants, we are not asking for any wants this year. Obviously, we have lots of potential budget shortages and that type of thing, so I feel like if we get those needs, and I think we're okay as far as wants go, so you just go out of that. This isn't really anything that's gonna cost any money, but it's something that I want everybody to know about, because it's something that you need to know about. It's a cadet program that we're starting. To be honest with you, law enforcement, we are having shortages right now. We have openings and not a lot of potential for applicants coming in. We've been a little spoiled. We've been fully staffed for the last year. And when we did have openings, we had people literally standing in line waiting on an opening to take that spot. That is not the case with law enforcement anywhere else that I know of. We're really spoiled, but now it's our turn. Right now, we have openings that we cannot fill. And so we're having a hard time competing with the agencies right here around us. And so because that's what they're offering. So either way, a cadet program, what that means is if we sponsor somebody and they go to basic law enforcement training, whenever they get to a certain point in that training, we'll just say halfway, then we are creating a policy that would let us hire them and start paying them to finish their basic training. And then as soon as they come out, they've got a job with us and they start field training immediately. And I'll be honest, I have postponed this as much as I can, but when BLET classes are graduating now, there are no free agents in them. They are already signed up, and a lot of them before halfway, they already belong to somebody. It's a really competitive thing. This won't cost us any money because we're only gonna use this in times when we have an opening. We'll use the salary money that's already there for a position that's not filled to pay this person to finish out BLET. So it's not really a budget concern. It's just, I want everybody to know about that. So if you ever hear about cadets or whatever, that's what a cadet is. It's somebody that we're hiring to finish school. So community care program, I know we just talked a lot about that, so I'm not even gonna hit it. I just, you guys already heard plenty about that. But that's something that's going on in our, as you heard, we got basically a really good promising outlook for grant funding for that. But there is the potential, I think 3 years down the road, it sounds like now, there is the potential where funding runs dry for that program. And so whoever's on the town board at that time, there's gonna be a decision to make about how do we pay for this if we can't get grant funds. As it is right now, we don't use tax money for that program. So, and we're gonna just squeeze all the good we can get out of that without tax money, but and they're just setting you up for in years from now, we could come to the point where we gotta figure out this program. I know I have lots of data about it. Are we gonna fund it? The funding runs dry. So it's something to consider.
No major budget requests, so.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question?
Absolutely.
The BLET training, is it still through Southwestern Community College?
It is.
Okay.
Several community colleges in the area do, but that's the primary one.
Okay.
They just expanded that, just so you know, what's our new time now?
So the current, so BLET went from 600 and some odd hours, the basic level, we add to it at XCC so that officers are a little more trained as they come out. We had OC spray taser, and we call it human resource development. There's a few other things we do. So we had it at about 700 hours. And with the addition that the state put in, which we're currently in a pilot program, we're one of 15 throughout the state, and there's 55 community colleges that teach it. And with the additional hours, which supposedly everybody's going to in 2025, with our HRD stuff, it's pushing 1,000 hours. So just for an example, typically the classes would run 3.5 to 4 months. The class that starts today at SCC, so 25th of January, they take their state tests the 26th of June. So it's a 6-month long course now.
Thank you.
As it says up our William, of course, our service. That's the Jackson County also. Y'all have a contract with them to provide our service in the county. So we go mutual aid to all the outlying departments, which are 6 besides us in the county. Kind of what we do, which is fire protection, fire suppression, We do investigations and inspections. Pre-planning, we do downtown mostly. First responder, which is a medical program. We respond only to serious medical emergencies, meaning like heart attacks and strokes and that kind of thing. Obviously, we have overdoses. That's got to be a big thing lately. Do that more. Education, that means we go out in schools and we talk to the kids about it. We also have open house day out here at the department. And that's a big part. It seems to help as far as like chimney fires and things where we used to have lots of them, hardly ever have them. And we did that by going to the schools and going to the kids. They take that stuff home and talk about it, the parents, and it seems to help. And then, of course, we do training for other things like, we do fire extinguisher training for businesses and things like that if they want it. Some safety training, we don't get real involved, but we can. Kind of what we do. We are manned 24 hours a day now. Everybody knows that now. With 2 people at least. And there's our little budget request for 24-25, and that's a lot. I think you agree with that. So I need to elaborate on some of that. The building heat leads off of fire at $100,000. That's an estimate. That wasn't planned. We apparently lost our board, which used to heat the building. Still does a little bit, but it's 14 years old now. And it's got to where we spent $50,000 on it the last 2 years keeping it running. So we
Keeping it running poorly.
Yeah, that's said poorly. So we're thinking we can use that money and not do that no more and get something that actually works. Maybe replace it like gas heat or something like that. That's up for research and not just very preliminary thing. But something's gonna have to be done. Or also heats the upstairs when it gets below about 35 degrees. It's heat pump system upstairs. Heat pump doesn't work very well below 35. So the blower also heats the upstairs when it gets down to that temperature. And of course, now we've got people staying there. The morning temperature was down almost to 40 when it was cold the other morning upstairs where they are. So we're going to have to do something about it. And my proposed budget does have that in. Pumper truck, next thing on the agenda there. That's something we should have done in 2020. But money being what it was, we couldn't do it. So we built up our capital fund to a point to where we can do it the next coming budget year. So we'll probably sell a couple of trucks off, take the fleet back up, maybe extend the fleet a little. And try to buy this truck. That will put us up to date on the pumper side of things. Our trucks age out after 20 years. And currently we got 4 that's over 20 years old now. So we're working towards that. Now, some of those we're not going to replace. We're going to have to feature and I'll get to that in a minute. If we go in more into the pay personnel or the trucks that we currently have now, people bought so many is volunteer. You had one person come to the station, get a truck. You had another person come to the station, get a truck. But we have to have at least 2 pumpers on every structure fire call, plus a ladder truck. We've got to run 3 trucks. If we get the paid personnel that we'll have, we'll be in that same position, but we won't have to worry about people getting trucks from Webster and here and yonder. Because volunteers won't be coming after. The paid person roll the truck out. So I want to cut the fleet down a little bit over the years, not this year, but it's coming. And then we'll be able to cut our maintenance costs on our trucks. We won't be maintaining trucks we're not running, things like that. So any question on any of that? Before I go any further?
What is the maintenance cost per year on, say, a mini pumper?
On 6 trucks, it's about $40,000 a year for all of them. That's just oil changing.
Yeah.
And that's if nothing breaks. And that's something you don't know either, what's gonna break. We do have a contingency fund for that. We don't even own a mini pumper anymore. We sold it. That's part of the truck complete cutback deal.
Okay.
It's just redundant anymore than needed. Wasn't very reliable either, so it's over. Okay, the next line down there is the 3 additional personnel. And that's preferably in July, and that's like I say, that's agreement between y'all and the county. They currently are funding the building payment, and they also are funding some extra money in their budget. As long as they don't take anything out, maybe we'll try to get them added just a little. Then with this is very well possible. It's already funded, it's already in place.
But your building payment ends this year.
Correct.
This is the last fiscal year.
Everything's paid up for the year. The other thing, when we're talking about personnel, I think you all, maybe not the new people, I don't know if they heard this. We're talking about adding a person next month in February for a daytime guy. That help out on the response and things. And it also helps on her fill in, when somebody needs to take vacation, get sick, something like that. And just now it's overtime. Anytime about somebody gets sick.
That's a full-time position.
It'd be a full-time 40-hour-a-week position.
What's your overtime number? It's like 100,000.
Like, man,
So-
that.
It runs right at 90 and we're right at 40% of that already spent this year, which is almost equivalent to a full-time person on gross salary.
That's what we're looking at there. Not only that, but when people are working overtime, keep in mind, we're talking about 48-hour shifts. And it's not 8 hours, it's not 12 hours, it's 48 hours. So when you got somebody working extra, they're really working extra. And eventually you're gonna burn that person out. At least my feeling, if we keep doing that to them.
These are overtime savings should cover the cost of the additional person.
Now, you're scheduling the 48 hours, is that 2 on, 2 off?
No, it's 48 on, 96 out.
Gotcha.
You get 4 days off, after what 2 days.
So
Of course, that 48 hours depends on what happens in that 48 hours. I mean, there may not nothing there, which is a good thing. But that hardly ever happens that way. But you also might run 20 calls a day, so you don't know. And our calls go for any more than nothing, but 24, 25 days.
So Mike, explain for the new ones, explain how you run your shifts, because we have 6 on shift that we pay a shift, and then Mike and Keith in the 40-hour week position. So explain how you divide all of that.
How that works.
Mhm.
Okay, like I say, we got 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift that were 48 hours time. And then they're relieved by the next shift, and so on, to rotate back around. They back up a day every week, if you look at their schedule. Say the shift came in this morning, which is A shift. Next week, they'll come in on Thursday, they'll work Thursday, and Friday, they they're working Friday and Saturday. This is Thursday. The calendar all runs together, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. These people are working overtime covering these shifts. We give somebody a vacation day, that means somebody else is working that day. So if they come in and say, A shift coming in this morning and they're working for 48 hours, and then one of the guys on the next shift want to take off, and we had to use one of these people to cover that shift, that 48 hours went 72. And that's what this guy's gonna do, he'll alleviate that. Of course, also, when nobody is off, that's an extra man we respond with, which helps our response and stuff. And we'll probably rotate that shift around a little bit, where this guy will be working, like, if he's not scheduled to work, somebody taking off something, he might be working on Saturday and Sunday in the daytime. Help the shift once again. And then like Amanda was saying, myself and Keith, we work days. And then the other time we come back for calls and whatever. We're ready to work all the time. But that's the only way we can cover the calls. But under those rules, we're supposed to have 2 people outside for every 2 we send inside. But if you've only got 2 people, it's hard to do. So that's where we come in at night when we have structure fires or something. That keeps us legal. Anyway, like I say, with the hopes, then we get this guy in February, Any problems with that? And then we'll try to get 3 more in July, hire 3 more people. Those people will be on the shifts, which is add 3 people each shift. Which again, help our response and again, keep us legal toward those. And it's just smart to have that. Yeah. You know, structure fire, if you've only got 5, 6 people, not any fun. Because you really work them to death to pull that out. We've done it. And we continue to do it, but it's awful hard. Days that we volunteered where you had 20 people show up, that's not happening. These are lots of factors. One of them, for example, a lot of people work places where they can't leave. Gun calls anymore. Years ago, that was really the problem. Now it is.
I can say too, the police have, like having paid staff has took some pressure off the police department too. It's been really helpful, even though they do a totally different job. But we're together a lot, so that it has been a game changer for us. A lot of pressure off of us just by having that.
How many substations do we have right now that
Webster,
just with,
just one way.
is any, in the future, is any of the additional personnel gonna be manning Webster
Well, that
full time?
That depends on this road construction at 107. That's a real possibility. That's something we're gonna have to wait for what happens with the road construction, you know, traffic gets diverted and backed up and whatever else. That may have to happen.
I know previously, years ago, I was on rescue squad. Been nice to have a substation somewhere else. It can help response time tremendously, especially in a highly emergency situation.
Rescue squad currently keeps 2 trucks in our building. There's 2 white trucks belong to rescue squad.
Did they keep a truck out at Webster too?
To us or they,
The rescue squad?
yeah, that's where their main building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're out there. Community services park or whatever they call that now. We have 2 trucks out there.
And I apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't even know you had a substation out there. So I do apologize for that.
They added 2 bays when they were building the building just for us, put our trucks. And then that part of that deal was allow them to put 2 trucks down here. That they were
Yes,
building.
they be quarters there.
Yeah, the rest of equipment, yes, they do.
That's my next question. Thank you.
Yeah, they do. The ambulance, EMS currently has the ambulance base starting 24 hours a day.
Does the emergency rescue squad building have full-time staff as well?
Not the rescue squad, the EMS keeps ambulance service people out 24 hours a day, yes.
Yeah, the daytime person.
They do have a daytime guy, county coordinator like the fire department. That's something I probably ought to talk about, even though I don't have this budget. But most of you don't know this, but in the county, all the outlying departments, they have what's called coordinators, county pays them. There's 2 in each department in the daytime. There is nobody at night. And that's what they do at squad too, they have 1 there.
But it's daytime on.
Daytime on.
Monday through Friday.
Through Friday. And Savannah has 2, say for example, Savannah Fire Department, it's the same way, Monday through Friday. All of them. Any questions? There's no. That's kind of what I want to do in this upcoming budget. And like I say, that is in my proposed budget, all of that. And then the wants over there just upgraded the building a little bit. Our building's now 14 years old. It needs a paint job. And that's basically what that is. Paint job and a new carpet. That's in the living for. That's basically all our wants. Yes, ma'am.
What's the deal with the carpet? Is it just worn, dirty?
One dirty and I guess the word to put to it, it's getting old.
Yeah.
Sit there and look at it every day.
Has it been replaced since the building was done?
No,
So it's 14 years old.
same way the building, all of it is.
Lifetime of carpet's usually not 14 years, so.
Especially the fire department.
Yeah.
I mean, we clean it. We got steam cleaner and they clean it. It's cleaned once a month, steam cleaner, but it's, they were getting old and faded.
High traffic area.
It's really high traffic, certain places. We did repaint the bays last year with.
So do you have numbers or estimates for your wants?
Not exactly. And I can guess it probably based on what the bottom cost was. The bottom cost about 20, wasn't it? Somewhere thereabouts. It's not quite as big. It's more aggravating until you worry about the carpet. It's that.
Is it possible to look into like luxury vinyl planks putting up there instead of carpet? I don't know what the numbers look like for that space, but I know,
Definitely easier to maintain.
yeah, and it should last more than 14 years.
Yeah.
I've found in the apartments I manage that the cost is pretty reasonable considering how long the lifetime on like LVP. I know 14 years ago, I don't think they were really using a lot of that in places, but now it's everywhere, so.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I love that. Like I say, be easier maintenance, easier on people to start keeping it up.
It doesn't hold all that dust and dirt and gross stuff.
Well, they spend, it takes about 4 hours to sing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it does. It's a job for that day. It's anything. I think it is, you're easy.
Your turnout gear, how good shape is it?
We maintain pretty good turnout gear. We try to buy so much every year. If you've never noticed in our budget, there's a certain amount of money put in there every year just for that. Oh, we have got over it. The volunteer oil pipe. Pay guys have 2 sets, maybe some of the volunteer guys that were active. That is a big expense. Things like it. Thing in the fire businesses, put fire on it, it's very expensive. Yeah.
Jake.
So next. All right, so Public Works, our mission statement is, Sylva Public Works Department's mission is to help improve the quality of life for the residents of Sylva by providing it for efficient sanitation and waste removal, safe and well-maintained streets, structures, parks, landscaping, and assisting in meeting the recreational needs of our citizens. So some of the core services we provide, street department, we do street cleaning and sweeping, and we have a partnership with the town of Dillsboro. They pay us what I feel is a very fair fee, and we sweep their streets in Dillsboro once a week. Paving and maintenance, that's a partnership with the DOT. There's roads in town, that the town owns, and then there's roads in town that the DOT owns, as well as private roads. We have about 11 miles of town-owned road, and we're responsible for the construction and maintenance of all that. Stormwater management, some places that's a ditch, other places that's a subsurface drainage system. And in many areas, especially downtown, that is aging pretty rapidly. We mow of that 11 miles of road, we mow the right of way and trim, do tree trimming for all of that. Building maintenance, we own, the town of Sylva owns this building, town hall that we're sitting in, the old police station, current police station, the fire department, and, we'll also own the upcoming public restroom, and we own and lease the building that the community table is in. So street lighting, y'all got a little taste of that earlier today. We do snow and ice removal in town and at emergency buildings, out of town. Say if emergency services is behind and they need cleared, we'll help the county. We'll do some clearing out towards the communication tower. So we have an agreement with the county on some of that stuff and the DOT. If we have to cross a state road with a plow, we go ahead and plow it. And they do likewise with us, during a snow event. Sidewalk construction and maintenance, we're finishing up the Skyland Drive sidewalk. They're just in the final phases of that currently.
Litter collection, street sign replacement and cemetery maintenance. The town owns Keener Cemetery up at the top of Sylvan Heights. And it's on a maintenance contract, so we pay a company every year to mow and do maintenance up there. Sanitation, it's another huge part of what we do. So garbage collection. We have a partnership with Jackson County to get all of our solid waste and recycling hauled at the transfer station. Last year, we collected 778 tons of solid waste, and that averages about 15 tons a week. We're not automated, so 30,000 pounds a week gets picked up by two fellas and put in the back of that garbage truck. Pat them on the back if you ever see them, they're tough as woodpecker lips. Brush and yard waste, we did 327 tons of brush last year, and that's been annually increasing every year since the pandemic. The recycling, we do a dual stream recycling collection, so it has to be sorted. We collect that at the curb. We also collect white goods, household appliances, tires, about anything you name, and that's not on the schedule. That's as it appears at the curb generally. We have an inert debris landfill operation, which is a fancy way to say mulch, that we do grind up our leaves and we use them for mulch and composting as well. Recreation, so we have Bridge Park, Bryson Park, Poteet Park, Pinnacle Park, and now we've added Black Rock Creek on the backside of the Pinnacle property. It's only accessible currently from the Cherokee side. We're exploring options. That was a partnership through Mainspring Conservation Trust. Downtown festivals and events, the big two are Granite Up the Mountains and the Christmas Parade. We also have Treat Street on Halloween, concerts on the creek. Bernadette does a whole bunch of our events. Sylva Pool, we're partnered up with the county on that. They staff it, and we split maintenance costs with them. We're sure happy they staff that. Fleet maintenance. So there's currently 19 vehicles in service at the police department, and we do everything that's not warranty work, or we don't dive into bottom ends and stuff like that, but we do all routine maintenance happens here, and there's very few things we won't dive into. We don't do major drivetrain work if we can help it, but we can if we, a lot of that stuff happens in warranty, hopefully. So we got, and public works, we've got 2 half-ton pickups, 3 3/4 ton trucks, 3 1-tons, 1-ton trucks, 2 garbage trucks, 1 brush truck, 1 water truck. We got a single axle 2-ton dump truck and a bucket truck, and those bottom 5 are all CDL trucks. Fire department, they have 4 vehicles that we maintain for them, and their fire trucks are on their separate maintenance contract. Goals for the future, we got well over $5 million worth of projects hanging in the breeze right now. Allen Street's effectively done, and that's, like I told you in my report, I'm really pleased with that. The Bryson Park Playground and Pavilion renovations, that project is currently funded and within a couple months of being underway. Public restroom completion, I want to see that completed. That project is funded and underway, and the Bridge Park Green Infrastructure Improvement Project is currently funded and underway. In the future, we desperately need to upgrade the Poteet Park restrooms. They're in bad need. We've been talking about it for several years, and it desperately needs to happen in the future. We've got TDA grant possibilities. There's several different funding mechanisms for that. I'm hoping that won't come from fund balance. Handrails along sidewalks. A lot of our handrails are in desperate need of attention. We've got a long run of handrail between the fountain and Hillsborough Road that we need to get rebuilt. We're about $9,000 worth of just steel alone in that project. And I would get prices to have that contracted out, but we would also explore the opportunity of doing that work with our staff here too. We need to get back to resurfacing our roads. This has been on hold due to Allen Street for the past several years. Public Works budget requests, the needs for this year, and I've got these separated into needs and wants, but I will point out that the wants this year will be needs next year. We need an equipment trailer. Our trailer is probably 25 years old. We haul our track hoe on. It's still serviceable. We still use it almost every day, but it's well exceeded its life expectancy and needs to be replaced. That's a $7,000 expense. Our air compressor in the shop that we use to run our car lift it's over 10 years old now. Mark's heard it. It sounds like a rattle trap. It desperately needs to be replaced as well. Computer, that's my computer, is 5 years old and needs to be replaced this year as well at a $2,500 cost. And that'll have several software upgrades that I currently don't have for reading plans and stuff like that. The wants for this year, we need a tire machine, $8,500 on that, and an upgraded welder as well at $5,000. Future large capital needs coming down the line in fiscal year 25-26, we need to replace our brush truck. That's going to be about $250,000 expense. And then the following year, the garbage truck will also be $250,000 expense in fiscal year 26-27. Just keep it in the back of your mind. That's it. Y'all got any questions for me?
Jake, how many compressor is it getting worse?
It hasn't gotten worse, but it's definitely could fail at any time.
Well, just to clarify everything, I had looked at this long before I even thought about running for town board, and when Jake told me about it, a lot of concern. It was never installed years ago with a regulator, and then it blew a pipe and it ran for almost 4 days. With that much heat, the crankshaft in it don't have bearings. They call them maggot bearings, and it uses the slinger oil system. The last time I was down there, it was pretty bad. And my concerns is, I hope we can consider this, because if something happens, this is my line of work. If something happens and the crankshaft break, punches a hole in the case and blows that hot oil out, and then there's some sort of way a fire could ignite, this other building's all wood, it could go pretty quick. Now, I would just, and the same way I do know with these tire changer, because he's getting, that thing created a lot of ash on the inside of it because it had no filtration system, and it stopped all the valving up in his tire changer. And with all those vehicles, and he can even change tires on his mowers and all this with this new tire changer that he's looking at. You know, please would consider that. Sorry, Jake.
Oh, absolutely.
I just wanted to clarify that, because I was wondering.
Yeah, it's hanging in
really
there.
bad.
It's hanging in there and it's still passing its inspection, but barely.
Barely.
Any more questions for me?
What's in the old police building?
That's storage, and my office is in office. That's my fortress of solitude over there. I'm the only one in it.
It's best that way.
So
I've
Jake,
been trying to keep them contained.
Yeah, they stick me over there in the leper colony.
if you wind up getting one of your wants, what thing would it be?
The tire changer. Sure, our welder it's adequate. As we stare down these handrail projects that I would like to do in the next several years, an upgraded welder that would be necessary.
And you gonna do the administration.
You gonna start.
Thank you. Okay, so the administration, the mission statement is the administration of the town of Sylva is dedicated to providing the citizens of Sylva with quality customer service and to always seek innovative approaches to solving the concerns of our residents with the most cost-effective means. Okay, so under the core services for the finance, these are just some of the stuff I picked out, but I assist with external auditors with the annual audit. That's a big thing that takes quite a bit of time. I did want to take this time to mention that our current auditor that we've been with for 12 years has told me that she's no longer going to be doing our audit. And the reason why is she's just scaling back. And there is a huge shortage from what we've been told with auditors across the state. So I have put out RFPs and I have got some interest in that, which is a good thing because some of the people I've talked to said they've not even got any responses, which is scary. But hopefully we'll get those. I've got a schedule that they've got to go by and hopefully, well, on the February the 22nd board meeting, I should be able to make the recommendation of who you need to go with. Because of all this grant money, we are required under the SCIF funding to do a single audit. So that's going to be an increased price just in itself. So we'll see what comes back at. But we've been pleased with our auditor, and it's just time for her to cut back a little. So we'll go forward and see what we get.
Your general cost is probably going to go up anyway.
Yeah, just because of,
An increase.
yeah, because there's such a demand. And from my understanding, a lot of this came from all this grant funding and where it's requiring more of the auditors and the finance officers. That's one of the things. But the next thing down is I assist the town manager with the budget development and administration. So once the department heads give their request for the budget, I have to plug all that in and balance it out, at least to where we can make the presentation of what's needed, and also estimate revenues. Then direct general accounting system to include grants and capital projects, which is, we've said before, these capital projects and grants, it's a lot staff. At the most, I have been involved with like one capital project at a time in the past. Now we've got 4 accounting wise going on. Plus we had the ARPA funding, which is kind of came to an end on that, but I'm still having to do reports on that and then keep track of the supplemented funds that we did. So it's just a lot added to staff on all ends when we get, this many projects and this many grant fundings going on. Financial reporting, I do on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. There's quite a bit of reporting that's just required certain times of the year that has to be submitted. And then I, of course, do the monthly the consent agenda, and then monthly finance reports. And then I have the quarterlies that I do for y'all as well. And then I coordinate the town investments. I work with the banks and keep an eye on interest rates and just different things like that. Any questions on?
Because of our size, we all wear lots of different hats around here. So this is a sample of there's things listed that are all under my name. So each line is a different category, and those are just different functional areas of the town. So in HR, obviously that is anywhere from bringing an employee on to the benefits to the filing of that employee's requirements for general statutes and tax reporting. That varies as well from internal reporting to requirements required by the IRS or the state of North Carolina. All of these functions also work with the auditor. They roll up. A lot of what I do reporting wise rolls up to Lynn, which then rolls into the audit itself. So under tax collector, that's probably a bigger one for the town because that's where our revenue primarily comes from. So we'll talk more about the taxes themselves later on in this presentation. But I do bill and collect the taxes for the town. The town board, so I serve as clerk to the board, which is also a custodian of all town records per general statutes in North Carolina. And then the bills of the town, we process and work together, processing and getting those paid. And any tax reporting that goes with all of that. So that's just a sample. The zoning and land use planning, we partner with Jackson County to do our code enforcement. We do have our set of zoning ordinances. We contract with the planning department and code enforcement department with the county to enforce those on a daily basis. So we work closely with Mike Poston, John Jeleneski in the planning department, and then those that are in fire and building inspections at the county level as well. So that's that piece of that there.
If you haven't already checked your email, I sent an overview of what the Main Street Department does and economic development as well. But just want to give you the high points. From the Main Street side of it, I facilitate economic health through the National Main Street Program and their 4 pillars. And on the economic development side for the rest of the town of Sylva, I work in business development, property development, workforce development, and a little bit in workforce housing. And then a lot of special projects designed to improve Sylva's economic health. I work very closely with the county economic development director, who has a lot of relationships and knowledge and experience in this. And so we try to collaborate together on a lot of issues. The Main Street Sylva Association portion of it is a 501c3. So I have a lot of reporting requirements to maintain our national accreditation. But it also affords us the opportunity to get grants that are not granted to municipalities, but they are to non-profit. So that's basically the overview. You know, I do have some projects that a lot of you have already expressed interest in that are town-wide or positively impact the town. The first one is with the SOD grant and technical assistance programs that we're working on for downtown. I mentioned the grant that we already got. I asked on here originally, maybe for the town to put in some money for that grant, but since we got the first one, that kind of meets our requirements for matching. And I might be able to get other grants to not have to ask the town at all. So I'm really encouraged about that. And the value of the UNCG renderings is about $52,000. So they've done all that for us for free, and that's through the Main Street program. So we're looking forward to improving the aesthetics, removing utilities and minimizing existing utilities, especially on Mill Street, which is the area we're trying to develop and to build out more spaces. Downtown landscaping is another priority. There's a few sections that the Rotary Club has expressed that they will maintain for us if we just get some good sustainable plants in there, because they'll be losing the area on Asheville Highway that they normally maintain. So they're willing to trade that project. Another request we have is a supply building at Bridge Park. And this is really important because we could not put on the number of events that we do without the Chamber of Commerce and the rec department. Those two entities partner with us on almost everything. So we find ourselves in a situation where we're trying to not have staff come out to the event because they're running it, but they don't have access to the resources that they need. So we would put things in there like trash bags and toilet paper and even, crowd fencing, extension cords, anything that we might need on the fly for a concert or whatever other event that we have there. And then the last one is access to Dillsboro's new walking bridge to connect our towns through Hometown Place. I think most of you are familiar with that project. We would have to create ADA access on the sidewalk near B&L's, and a new smart crossing for Mark Watson over to Hometown Place, and probably bolster the first crossing that connects to that sidewalk that Jake was mentioning that needs a new handrail, because that's where folks really start to pick up speed coming out of town. And if we're gonna have that kind of traffic going through on foot or on bicycle to Dillsboro, we feel really strongly about that, so. That's it for me. Any questions?
Did you skip the LD short part?
I did, and the reason is, well, it's still something for the future, but I just got the price quote yesterday. And it's something that I'm pulling from the radar, because it's about $65,000 to do all of our light poles on Mill and Main. However, I do believe, since this is kind of groundbreaking, that in a few years, the cost will go down, and it will have we'll have a easier ability to tie all these together. So what that'll allow us to do is, if they would stay up there, so Public Works wouldn't have to keep taking things down, and they can program them for different seasonal colors. So it could be something that really helps us with our decor going forward, but I don't see that, you guys might see it, but I don't see that in the future for this year, because it's really.
Then I just have one last, since we're losing, that median area where Rotary Club is currently maintaining, is it possible to transplant some of those plants to other areas?
You wouldn't want to. Most of those plants are non-native invasive.
Okay.
But they were thinking even something a little earlier, the word was like greens or something that's a little, more hardy, and like the rose bushes got diseased that were in the one area across from the chamber. So there might be.
Where are some of the areas they're looking at they would assist with?
They're not that big, but the triangle at Mill and Main, the rose garden area across from the chamber. And then there's a kind of a triangle area right at the entrance across from the Sylva sign, where there's a couple of road signs in there. And that would kind of like frame both entrances to Sylva.
Okay.
Hey, Lynn,
So current financial situation. Where we did well, where we fell short. So how I like to approach this is, this is my quarterly report that I give to the board provided on the consent agenda. But this has been a work in progress for a number of years of good information that's like a snapshot where we're at a given point. So I'd like to just go through this to give you an idea of what you're looking at. And at any time when I send these out, if anybody has any questions or wants me to go into more detail, please just let me know, and I'll be happy to go over. And if there's stuff that you would like to see that's not on here, just let me know that too, and we can try to work that in. So we'll go over this. This is the investment portfolio that we have currently. We have 4 banks. And it corresponds over here with the little pie chart or whatever kind of chart, color coded. So we have, we're getting the best interest rate at Cash Management Trust. And this is like our fund balance and, just some money that we keep in there for more like investment because it's not local. We can't write checks and stuff out of that. So, we have that. We have some invested in Community First Bank. This one's just a small one that I just keep some money in. I've got a couple of reasons I like to do that. And then our main central depository is First Bank here in city limits. This is the amount we have in there currently, and this is the interest rate. The reason that's larger right now is because of the projects and the grant funding. Normally I wouldn't keep that much in there, but we got certain requirements with the skip money that we have for grants. And so, we need that money when we can get to it quick. So this is where that's sitting. And currently our interest income, it's already exceeded the budget for this year by quite a bit. That's something we're conservative on budgeting because we've not had that luxury of it being as high as it has been. And at any point, it could start going down. And I did hear on the news the other day that there's a possibility of that starting to happen. When that happens, this cash management trust, it's the first one that goes up, but it's the first one that starts going down. I've seen it for a number of years that happening. So we'll start seeing those interest rates. But that's a good thing as long as we can continue to get that kind of returns. That we're happy about. So we have state revenues, and I just look at the top 2 highest here, which is sales tax and then our franchise tax. Overall, state revenues, which includes our Powell bill monies and these plus some smaller ones, the budget it's right at 33% of our budget. The state revenues are. We get these in quarterly payments. So we should be at 50%, and you can see over here what we've collected. So several of these, most of these are above. This natural gas is slightly below, but the only amount we get is around $1,000 a year. So that's not a big concern. Then we have our sales tax and our hold harmless. We should be average at 33.32%. And these, as you can see, are above average. And I think Richard's going to go over some numbers with you a little bit later. These are the different sources. It's very complex how they break all this down, but this one right here is through 50%, or it's 0.5%, and it's through a pool method, which means it's all the towns or all the counties across the state. So I think when we see 107 stuff, I don't think this one will be as greatly impacted, but it is our smallest one. These others are going to be impacted because they're point of sale. And then you have the hold harmless, which has to do with the county. It's a Medicaid thing, and we get just because we would have lost revenue years ago when they did away with certain things. This just goes to replace that. So that's our sales tax. And of those, this portion is roughly about 7% of our budget, and of the sales tax, it's close to 24%. This is an analysis of our fund balance. Over here, we've got a policy that our fund balance will not drop below 40%. And we have a goal to maintain 68% of our expenditures. And as of right now, this is our goal and this is where we're at. So we're at where we need to be. This is just as of December the 30th. When at year end, June 30th, the audited numbers will be what we actually go by to indicate that what our fund balance is. Because at that time, the expenditures are divided what they actually are. We're looking at this as what our expenditures are as budgeted. Let's see, pay close attention to this number here because I want to show you on the next screen. 1 cent of our tax revenue right now is equal to $50,000. And we've had some appropriations and some rollovers from our fund balance, which is included in this number. And so these are our capital reserve funds. We have a general fund and the fire department has their own fund. And we have to keep that separate because of the way the monies are from the fire department, from the county and some other municipalities. So our general fund, this number I told you over that I just referred to is $788,000. And we were able to put that back into our capital reserve fund because it went over the 68,000. And we have not been able to do that in the last 5 years. The most we have put back is 121,500. And the reason for that is because we've had to fund the Allen Street project. So when we've had money that could roll over into this capital reserve fund, we had to put it into the Allen Street project. So that was getting what? So this 788,000 is a good thing. And some of the places that came from, I mean, it seems kind of high. But we had the investment earnings that came in $187,000 last year. That was, most of that was not anticipated. We will not be seeing that forever, but there was sales tax came in higher than was budgeted. We also budgeted on that very conservatively, because that can change quickly. And then we had some additional ABC money that we got at the end of the fiscal year that we were not anticipating. And we also have departmental savings. If we have vacancies, that money does not get put within the department unless it goes before the board. So when we had that or insurance or anything that, and then that's left over, that has some savings towards that. So right now we've got $1,053,369 in our capital reserve fund. And as Jake was mentioning, he's got some big items coming up, the garbage truck and the knuckle boom. So this would be a place we would take that from and not have to finance it. So that it's a good thing.
Just think you've got two separate savings accounts. You've got your capital reserve savings account, which has got like $1.5 million. Your second savings account is your fund balance, which I think has about $5 million. Both of those can be used for these large capital expenditures, or if you got something, that is unexpected or you didn't count on in the budget. Both of those savings accounts are available to you if you need. You don't want to drain them down where you don't have anything in it, but you do have a cushion there, with both of those savings accounts.
And back to the fund balance that we currently have, we could operate roughly 8 months off of that just by not having anything come in, which is, I mean, that's good, but we want to keep it where that, at least that's 68% if we can. All right, and then the fire department, each year the fire department usually puts money back. And there has been, it's $593,943. So into their capital reserve. So as Mike was talking, he's gonna need possibly the 100,000 for the heating system, and then he's looking at getting a new pumper. So this would be a source for some of that. We have a revolving loan fund. This originally came from UDAG money, and this is basically what's left out of that. It's not an active, really fund, but we just still have money that has to be accounted for in that. The next is our Fisher Creek money. Back in 2007, we received $3.5 million from the Clean Water Management Trust grant. And there was a stipulation in that requires that 40% of that has to be spent on water quality. So of that, 1.4 would be the 40%. Currently, we've only spent since 2007, $182,141 towards the purpose of that, which it leaves this much remaining. Of that water quality, we recently, within the last year or so, started accounting for the interest separately from this for just water quality, and then we have just the regular money. And so I don't include that in with this here because this is all we need to spend towards that water quality. These are, you can see here, our current investments is 3.2. That's getting close to the original 3.5 million. And these are, I keep track of all this I've kept track of it over the years of the different investments we've had and how much we've received from each investment. This is the Fisher Creek funds available, and basically this subtracts out as of this date any expenditures we've had, any additional revenues, and it takes out the water quality. So this is the funds available that we have that could be spent. And this pink's kind of hard to read, but this is our ARPA money that we received back with COVID. We received $886,798. We have appropriated and used $750,000 thousand of that, which is left a remaining balance of 136,642. The bulk of that has been spent on being spent on two of the projects. The bathroom and the stormwater project. Because we needed the funding from somewhere. And this was what we felt was the best place to take it. We were able to supplant funds early on, and this allowed that money to be freed up, which was a good thing because there was a lot of stipulations on the money. And how we could even use it, if we could use it. Amanda will go over the property tax analysis portion of it. I just wanted to mention that of our budget, 52% is property tax that we receive of the budget. And then our outstanding loans, this is the fire department, and these will be paid off by June 30th. So we will not have any outstanding loans, which has been the first time since I was here.
That's huge.
That we don't owe,
Debt.
that we don't owe anything. And when the recession hit and I went and attended all these meetings and stuff, one of the main things was their outstanding debt that had tied them that and like retirees where they had made commitments to fund retirees. That's two of the things that kept being brought up. So anyway, I think it's a good thing that we can say.
I had a question. I remember when the previous board, voted on the changes in the bathroom and there was a need for a little bit of additional money and they moved it from somewhere. And there was some conversation about that there's some chance they'd get that back. Where would it come back from? And how much was it? I don't remember. I'm just ballpark guess. I'm just thinking there was some conversation about some chance of getting some money back that got moved into the bathrooms from something.
ARPA funds is how what was transferred in, right?
Yeah, so if we have money left over after the bathrooms we have two different skip monies. And then, there's a smaller one. So yes, if we had any left, we could justify that with the ARPA money, and give that back, but I don't think it was a whole lot, was it, Jay?
No, we had to make an additional appropriation
Yeah.
from ARPA or from the funds that we supplanted. And that was centered around the discussion, that value engineering discussion that we had. I don't remember only specifically a discussion about a surplus off the top of my head.
I might be wrong. I was just thinking that one of the voting members made a comment that they'd do that in hopes that they'd get something back from something else. It was about an equal amount or something. All sounded good. I was just wondering what it was and where it might come from.
Well, my main goal would be, of course, to use all of the grant funding.
Right.
And then what we have left would be what could come back to the town. And we do have contingencies built into all these projects, and hopefully we won't have to use them. So if it's left and we have spent all we need out of the grant funding, then that could come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
the sales tax refunds also.
So we're gonna have sales tax refunds and the interest is required to be used on the SCIF funding within that project. So that's gonna happen, at Bryson Park. And then it will be at the back, the restrooms, public restrooms. And with the interest rate being as high as it is, there's gonna be quite a bit of interest. So we're just, we're aware of that, and we'll just see as we get closer to the end of the project, how much we have and then what we could do with that.
So the interest is supposed to be used on the project that the money was put in
Yes,
while it was in
yes.
construction.
And
That's interesting. No.
yeah, well, I've not had a lot of projects that's had that. Usually you just have what's left at the end, and then it can be rolled over in the general fund when it's closed out. But this is very specific, and I'm having to really start watching on because of Bryson Park, it's just the one revenue source, which is the 3 million. And now with the restrooms, we've got the ARPA money in there, and we've got the SCIF money, so I'm having to watch and make sure I appropriate the interest correctly, because we don't want to give them credit for interest that should be on the ARPA. So I'm accounting for all of that differently, and so. But anyway.
Sounds like a full-time job to me.
Yeah. It's, yes. For all of us, we stay busy. So do y'all have any questions on this? You will also get a quarterly report on the projects and the special revenue funds. You'll see that. That'll be at, on with your next consent agenda, and that gives the detail, and it breaks out how much interest and such we've got.
So for the comfort truck that Mike was flexing, is that likely gonna be a loan? That would be a new loan?
Well, he should have some money that will roll in at the end of the fiscal year if nothing major comes up. So that'll add to that. We were hoping, we didn't have that 100,000 on the radar for the heat repair. So between that and that, we should be pretty close. So that's,
I suspect you'll use a portion of this capital fund, but you'll probably also borrow some. You just need to decide what that combination is, because you don't want to zero that out, or something else may come up. So I expect you could use a portion of this, but you probably.
yeah, we'll look at it at the time and see where we're at. I mean, we're getting the flip side of the good interest rates of the revenue source, but on the flip side of this, it's going to be probably a high interest rate to borrow. So, but if it starts coming down, so we'll look at it. He's right. We don't want to use all of it, but.
See, normally when you borrow money, our loan's gonna be tax-free. So you'll get a significantly lower interest rate than you would if you went as a citizen borrowing, say. One part of our rates would be cheaper. And on a large piece of equipment like this, is $700,000. Fire truck, you can go out to 15 years, I think, on a loan, so you keep your, payments lower, but then you gotta look at the interest you're gonna pay in that 15 years. You just gotta make decisions, or, take what best.
Yeah, we can approach all that and we get some good numbers and everything. See what's going to work best.
See, staff will bring you recommendations on all that, so.
So our property taxes are billed annually in the latter part of August or the early part of September. We bill our own and collect our own taxes, unlike other smaller municipalities in the county. We get our data from Jackson County, so we take the real property and the personal property data that they submit to us and then generate our billing based on the tax rate that's set by the board each year. For fiscal year 23-24, we billed just shy of $2.3 million right here. We've never budget to collect 100% because general statutes say that you can only budget to collect a percentage of what you did collect the previous year. So we base that revenue, our budget for revenue on this 97.96 collection rate, which was the previous year's final collection rate. As it stands, the 78.69% was as of December 31st. As of this morning, the collection rate is 91.3%. So we're right on track from where we normally are in January of each fiscal year. So we'd like to get that as close to 98% as we possibly can. That's our target. Obviously, we'd like 100, but that's hard to do with just various circumstances that people face in the community. So we right now are on target to collect what we've budgeted, and which is always a good thing. So a little history of the collection rate of the town. You can see we hover right around that 98% mark each year. Taxes are billed and payable as of September 1st of each year. They are delinquent on January the 6th of the following year. And so on January the 6th, for those of you that are new, January 6th is the date by state statute that I can begin enforced collections on delinquent taxes, which means for anything delinquent on that day, we have options of pursuing garnishment, wage garnishment, checking account garnishments, tax foreclosure, things like that. We do our best to try to keep forced collections to the least invasive, unless we get a taxpayer who is just considerably delinquent in years and balance. Each month you get a report in your consent agenda that details the top 10 delinquent accounts that the town carries for property taxes. And so that's information that tells you what the current balance of that account is and who the property tax owner is. So we report that just so you have an idea of what our top 10 are. For some of those in the top 10, there are various reasons as to why we cannot or should not use enforced collections. Right now, we're faced with the issue of some delinquent taxes with property tied up in this DOT project. And so we, at this time, are not pursuing enforced collections on some of those simply because it will go through at least a portion of the property will be taken by the DOT, their Highway 107 project. So that is the case with a couple in that top 10 list that you see now. But we do begin with garnishments, either wages or banks early on in the January, late January, early February, to bring in as much revenue as we possibly can. I don't look at who the property tax owner is per se, this is your balance, these are the years you've been delinquent, and this is what we need to do. So we do work towards getting as much of that using as the enforced collections. if it comes to a point where we need to involve our town attorney, he does submit or send out letters for us that are a little more strict than what I would, I send out giving them one last final option of whatever before we proceed with a higher level of enforced collection.
So just a question for me, say for example, there's a piece of property out here on 107 that somebody's delinquent in their taxes and they have been for several years. And we've not pursued it for one reason or the other. And DOT does a condemnation on that property and they take it. When there's actually a filing to close to put that property in DOT's name, is that not when all the debts on that particular piece of property have to be paid?
It should be
The
paid.
taxes?
It should be paid that way.
Okay.
That does not mean it necessarily happens that way, and then we have to go digging and find out why didn't that happen? But that is supposed to be what happens. That is, the closing attorney is supposed to, that's typically what they do. They make sure they call, verify taxes and make sure they have their up-to-date data. And